Hey guys, just wanted to pop on and quickly show you how to make this new granny square I was playing around with the other day for Finn's blanket. I wanted to work up something that was, one of those circle centers that turns into a square because I really like that style. And I used some typical flower type stitches, but also kind of turned it into like a starburst. So it's sort of a combo of a few different things. It's really fun and really quick to work up. So it's only a 4-round granny and it's quite big for 4 rounds. Let's see here. So yeah, it's almost 5 inches. So that's kind of like, let me grab one of my other granny squares. So it's about the same size as like your standard 5-round granny square. Look at that. Exactly. So, and it's 1 round less. So it uses up way less yarn. It doesn't have any of those puff stitches that takes up a lot of yarn. It works up really quickly. So this is a fun one. All right, so let's get started. Today we are going to be using, well, whatever yarn you want really, and just use your appropriate hook size. I am going to be using a number 4 worsted weight yarn. This is Michael's store brand. It's the Loops and Threads Impeccable, and I'll list all of the colors down in the description box for you. This one right here is Orange Crush, so we're going to start with Orange Crush for the center. And you'll have to excuse my voice. I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold, so hopefully I don't get too scratchy on you guys. So we're going to start with a slip knot. I should mention I'm using my 5mm hook, but you use whatever hook is appropriate size for your yarn. So get your slip knot on the hook there. And we're going to start by chaining 5. Now I will say that if you are a tight crocheter, you should chain 5 loosely. We're going to be fitting 12 of these clusters into the center of our ring here. So you can use a magic circle. I don't, I just prefer not to. Or you can chain 5 loosely, or if you just want to do it tightly, then I would suggest chaining 6 because we have 24 stitches in total that we have to fit into the center ring. So 5 loosely, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to assume that you know all of your basic stitches, and I'm just going to quickly go through how to make it, okay? So we're going to slip stitch to the 5th chain from our hook to create that center ring that we're going to be working into, like so. And we're going to chain 2, just like that. And we're going to just work 1 double crochet into the center of the ring, okay? And chain 1. Now these 2 stitches here are going to act as your first quote-unquote cluster. It's not how you do the remainder of the clusters in the center of the circle. So this first one just kind of looks a little, it's done differently, and the rest of them are going to follow the next instructions. So we're going to work 11 2 double crochet clusters into the center of the ring. You're going to start that by yarning over, inserting your hook into the center ring and pulling up a loop. You're going to yarn over and pull through 2. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook back into the center of the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 of those loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 of the loops on your hook, and lock it down with a chain 1, okay? So that's your first cluster. We're going to work 10 more of those for a total of 12. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, lock it down with a single crochet, okay? Or with a chain 1, sorry. So if it starts to get tight on you, just remember to pull those stitches back. And I'm just gonna quickly go through the rest of mine. If you need to see that again, feel free to pause the video, rewind it, play it again. If I go too quickly, just pause and get caught up. So by fitting 12 of these in the center, it makes for quite a large center, and which is what results in a good-sized granny square. So as you can see, I keep pulling those stitches back, okay? Don't feel like you're gonna ruin your work or mess it up or anything like that. Pull quite firmly if you have to. Get all those stitches in there. It's gonna be tight. And play around with it. If you find that it's just way too tight for you, I definitely recommend trying the magic circle. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12. Okay, so I'm at the end of my round. Now I'm going to join it by slip stitching into the space between the first two clusters. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch my round together like so. Now, if you're following along on the Fin blanket pattern, if you don't know what that is, I'll have a link to in the description box below. It's one of the patterns I sell, and this is one of the squares for that pattern. If you're following along and you want to know how to do the solid colored granny square, you would not fasten off your yarn. You're going to keep it on your hook, and you're just going to chain 2 for the next round and then complete your next round, okay? If you're doing a multicolored granny square, we're going to finish off with this color, cut our yarn, and then we're going to deal with these tails. So what I like to do to tuck in these tails is to just insert my hook into the back loop here, and we're going to weave them through. Okay, I'm going to do it into the next stitch, back loop only, and weave it through. And I'm going to do that 3, 4 times. I think 5. 5 is like the magic number for me. Okay, flip your circle around. And then I do it again into that back loop, but it's now your front loop because you flipped your granny, or your circle, I should say. It's not really a granny square, is it? Not yet. It will be. And I just go back. Okay, so now that tail is secure and I don't have to worry about sewing it in. So I'm going to work over that before I end up cutting it off, but I can cut off my center one that I worked 24 stitches over. That's not going anywhere. Okay, so that's how I deal with my tails as I'm going along, right? Just work them in, work them in. So I'm going to insert my hook kind of right where I ended off, just to lock down that tail and keep it out of my way. And I'm going to do my next color here. What's my next color? It's called Skylight. This is a really pretty color. It's one of my favorites from the whole line. Okay, so I just drape my yarn over my hook, leaving a bit of a tail. And I'm going to grab both of those. And I'm going to pull this through. Okay, I'm going to yarn over grabbing both of them. Okay, so you want 2. And pull it through. Okay, so I've just joined my yarn and chained 1 all at once. Okay, drop that tail. You're going to work over that tail. So hold it in position behind your circle here and just chain 1. So the join counted as a chain 1 and a join. And so we have technically a chain 2 here. Okay, excuse me. And I'm going to work 2 double crochets into that same spot. Okay, and I'm going to do this all the way around, 3 double crochets in between every cluster. 1, 2, 3. Remember to be working over that tail as you go along. If you need to pause and get caught up, do that. There's no shame in that game. Excuse me, guys, sorry. I don't know if it's allergies or if it's a cold, but I have quite the tickle in my throat. It's just not going away no matter how much water and warm liquids I drink. It's pretty annoying. Okay, so I've made it to the end of my round. I've got 3 double crochets in every space between my clusters, and that's what gives them this really kind of pulls it together and gives it that kind of flowery starburst effect. It's really nice. So we're going to join our round by slip stitching into the top of the first double crochet stitch, not into that chain 2, okay? And this is what gives it that nice, really tight, nice tight finish, okay? Invisible, almost invisible, okay? Play around with it, work it. Get all your stitches lined up. And we're going to deal with this tail the exact same way. So I'm going to loop it through 5 of these back loops here and flip it over and do the same thing. You work it back and forth on itself, I should say. Weave it in, flip. I do it this way just because I don't like to start and stop and pick up a darning needle and, you know, having to stop when you're like in the groove. And so let's look what I got here. So I worked over this one. I weaved that in the last round, and now I've worked over it. So it's done. I can take care of that one. And then my other tail from when I started is in behind all of these stitches. You can kind of see it poking through here. Pull it nice and tight so it doesn't peek through. You can snip off any stragglers. Okay, so from the front, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to insert our hook into any of the spaces between our shells here. These are shells, a group of stitches in the same space as a shell. And we're going to add in our next color. And this color is actually called sea green, but it's not very green. I think you'll think it's very blue. Okay. So again, you just drape it over your hook and pull through. And I do that secure your yarn, act as a chain 1 all together. Okay, working over just the beginning of this tail, chain 1. What am I doing? Actually, I'm chaining 3 in total. So 1, 2, 3, because this is the round we're going to turn it into a square. So we're going to be working trebles. Okay, so we're going to yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, wrap your yarn twice, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, this is going to create chain 2, create our first corner. We're going to do 3 more trebles. And it gets pretty tight. Squeeze them in, squish them in. It works out in the end, promise. Okay, into the next space, we're going to be working 3 double crochets. Into the next space, 3 double crochets. And into this next space, we're going to be working 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. Okay. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you've got the bottom half or the first side of your square done. And we're just going to repeat that pattern all the way around, okay? So 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and then put a corner in. Work your corner, 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. I find if you kind of spin it a little bit and put them in on an angle, sometimes you'll find that your trebles kind of get like really bunchy and like wonky, just because you're trying to jam them into such a tight space. So if you turn your granny or kind of twist it as you're going along, it may help you to get those stitches looking a little bit more even for you. Okay, we're gonna work our next side. So 3 double crochets in the next space, another 3 into this space. See how that's coming together? So we're gonna work our last corner here, 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. Oops, oops, oops. Okay, so I'm currently working my last 3 double crochets. So I've come all the way around, and now I'm going to join into the top of the first treble, not into the chain 3, into the top of the first treble. Okay, and we're just going to slip stitch it together and finish off. Now I should mention, because I forgot to mention, when you finished the second round here and you slip stitched to join your round, if you're just using a solid color, you would then just chain 3. You don't have to worry about fastening off your yarn. You don't have to like skip into another space or anything. You just automatically go into your chain 3 and work your first corner. Okay, so we're done this color. I'm going to deal with my, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to show you another way. So bear with me here. When you flip it over, you can get rid of this one. Now, sometimes in a granny square, you have no choice but to sew in your ends. And that happens when you start to work your square rounds, okay? When you start to work your square rounds, I don't carry the yarn over in between these stitches. I really don't like that look. Like, I don't like being able to see a stripe along the back where I've carried or hidden the yarn. So what I do instead is I take this tail and I'm going to thread it through my needle here. Oh boy, oh dear. Preferably a little more smoother than that. Gotta pretend like I'm a professional, right? And I'm going to put it into the back of the stitches here, right beside where that knot is. Okay, we're gonna pull down snug on that knot, but not so much that you have like an indent in your work. Work it through the back of that treble stitch all the way down. May take some doing. Okay, and then I'm going to work into the back of these stitches towards this tail here. Then I'm going to pick up this tail and I'm going to thread it through my needle. And I'm going to snip my yarn because they're drastically different sizes and that makes life difficult. And then I'm going to sew them in at the same time because time is money, ladies and gentlemen. Time is money. Just kidding. I like to kill two birds with one stone, right? Make our lives easier. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, you're just weaving it back and forth on each other, locking it in, and now that's dealt with. And if you do this as you go along, you will be a lot happier when you complete that square blanket of yours because you're not gonna have, what, 5,000, oh, what happened here? Good grief. Try not to be a total spaz like me, okay? Tips. Don't be a spaz like Mallory. Okay. We are going to insert our hook into any of the corners. What's my next color? My next color is Citron. Also one of my favorites. Okay. Wrap that yarn over the hook. This is our final round. I'm going to join it like we normally do, and then chain 1, and that's a total of a chain 2, okay? And we're going to work a regular granny square around, okay? No more tricks, no more different stitches, just a regular granny square all the way around the edge here. So we're going to put 2 double crochets in this space, this corner space here, chain 2, and 2, 3 double crochets to complete that first corner, okay? And then 3 double crochets into the next space. And 3 double crochets into the next space. And you guessed it, 3 double crochets into the next space. Okay, that will bring us to our next corner, our second corner, where we will work 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And then 3 double crochets in each space along the side here. Notice that I am not chaining in between my clusters here, or not my clusters, my shells, my granny shells. I don't like the look of a chain in between. I like a tighter look to my granny squares. If you like to chain 1 between yours, experiment with it, give it a go. See how it looks. Ooh, I'm gonna need a sip of water. Okay, that's better. We're into our third corner now. 3 double crochets. Chain 2. Oops, 3 double crochets. Oh, oh, oh. Into our fourth corner. My voice isn't going to last much longer, guys. We're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. I guess I won't be filming that next tutorial. So much for getting work done tonight. Maybe I'll go make myself a nice tea. That might help. Last one, 3 double crochets here to complete our round. Okay, and then to join, we're just going to join into the first double crochet stitch and not into the chain 2, okay? There we go. Fasten off, and you're done. So let's sew that end in so that it's all nice and neat looking, so we don't have anything left over to do when we finish our blanket. I know it can be so hard dealing with these ends when you're in the groove, but do it now. You'll thank me later. Yes, I will lecture you about it in every single tutorial. And make sure when you go back, when you're going back and forth on itself, that you're splitting that ply, or that you're going into the next strand of yarn so that you're not just pulling it all the way through on yourself. That would get you nowhere in a hurry. Okay, cut your ends, all finished. Wiggle and jiggle, straighten them out. There you have it. Okay, that's the new square I've been working on. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have fun crocheting. Bye, guys.